Hey everyone, it's Sunrise Sports and MMA back at it again. This video today, I want to talk about the UFC and movie theater partnership. During 2020, the UFC decided to stream or show their fights rather in some theaters across the U.S., notably AMC and Cinemark, if I'm not mistaken. And it looks like that's come to an end. We're probably not going to see this anymore. But I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of feedback on this and, my take. I was actually fortunate enough to catch UFC 322 in a theater recently with a buddy of mine. Full disclosure, my wife doesn't like me going out on Saturdays. Usually, I work Monday through Friday, but we wanted to, it was going to be one of the last experiences, and quite frankly, it was an excuse to be able to get out of the house and supposedly not drink, right? So nonetheless, we caught UFC 322. Main card started at 10, and we were able to, watch all the fights, no issues. The theater was mostly empty. The ticket prices were $25 plus tax, so somewhere along the lines of $55 for both of us to go and enjoy the UFC on the main screen, right, on the on the big screen. So, to me, it was a great experience. The fights were Jack Della versus Islam. We know what happened there. Shevchenko versus Wei Li. We know Valentina and Islam were both dominant in the championship fights. And then, of course, just KO to open up the card, right? BSD over Dariush. Prates versus Edwards, KO, head kick if we remember correctly. And then Michael Morales also finishing Sean Brady. So to me, a tremendous ramp up to the title fights, again, which were a little lackluster, but again, we got to enjoy 5 minutes of championship fights, 25 minutes of championship fights on both ends. So my experience related to this was that it was a great experience. It was an empty theater. We, enjoyed that it was just quiet. It was surprising to me the few people that were there. They really didn't make a lot of noise. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I get into it. I'll scream. I'll act like Joe Rogan and DC behind the at the commentators table. So great experience. What I really enjoyed, or what I liked about this, is that it brought back the feel of the fights back in the '80s. Again, I only hear of it from my dad when he go watch Roberto Duran versus Sugar Ray Leonard or Hagler fights. Even I believe during the Mike Tyson era. So I give a lot of props to the UFC for thinking outside the box. Right, the goal of that experiment was not necessarily to replace the mainstream TV / obviously streaming and pay-per-view buys, but it was, in my opinion, great to see an old school experience, right? And even though it was, not a main source of income, and I probably don't think it was successful, quite frankly, from a financial model. The fact was that it was an amazing experience to be able to watch some of these sports, in my humble opinion. And most of us think of the UFC like an event that we want to watch at home, at a bar, or in the arena, for quite frankly. But if they were to bring it back under the new Paramount Plus deal, I think it'd be great. I think I was fortunate enough to see the only one, or the last one, or one of the last ones. And I'd love to hear anyone's take on UFC movie theater experiences. Do you think that Paramount should bring this back? Should we just leave it as is, as theaters in general are dying? Will there be an impact of Paramount Plus buying the Warner Brothers HBO Max conglomerate? Because if Netflix buys it, we know that that might be the nail in the coffin for theaters as is. But really enjoyed it. Wanted to share my perspective on it. Would love to hear any feedback from anyone. Thanks. Again, this is Sunrise MMA. Please like and subscribe and share. And until next time, I'm out.